Hello, this is Jessie with Jessie at Home, and I'm going to show you how to make this fun little wrap bracelet that can be made once you know how to make a chain stitch and crochet. It's pretty much all you need to do is know how to make a chain stitch and be able to sew on a button, and you are good to go. So let me show you how this works. As you can see, I've actually wrapped it around my wrist twice. And what makes that really fun is most of the time, if you can wrap it around your wrist twice, you can still wrap it around your neck once and make yourself a choker as well. You can wear it either way you want. Make it to wrap around your wrist 3 times and you've got a little bit of a necklace also. Anyway, this is something that I came up with because I have this. This is a little plastic drawer full of yarn scraps. Sometimes I've turned them into chains, sometimes they're just the leftover end bits that I haven't even bothered to take the time to roll into a ball. Sometimes I've rolled them into a ball. Who knows? Sometimes it's like I don't even want to think about what that was. I started this, I didn't like it, I cut off the end of the yarn and just tossed it in here. You just never know what you're going to come up with. So let me grab these. Whoops. Let me grab that. Hold on. These two I happen to know because I have a couple full skeins of this yarn floating about here. These are actually Red Heart Shimmer yarn, in case you just fall in love with this project as I'm making it, and I'm realizing it kind of matches my background here. But these are Red Heart Shimmer. So I'm going to show you how to make that bracelet that I seem to have placed pretty far away. Here we go. Alright. So you can do this with 1 color, you can do it with 2. If you want to make it really chunky, you can even do 3. I'll show you how to make it and you'll be able to go from there. So, to start off, you are going to make a chain. So, just start off and make a chain and just keep going until that chain is the length you want for your bracelet. Something you can do in front of the TV, use up those scraps of yarn. My kids have a holiday boutique in their school every Christmas time. Hey, look at that. There we go, good size. And I sell some of these. I make them at night watching TV. And I put these in the store, sell them for a couple dollars. The kids love them. Okay, so now I've got this to the length that I like I showed you. 1, 2, that's good. Actually, I think I might have made it a little too long and caught a hair in it. So I'm going to take out a couple stitches here, and I'm just going to go back a few stitches, pull some out. See, it's that easy. Don't fret. And try again. There we go. See that? That I like. It's loose enough that it's not going to start to bother me, but not so loose that it's going to hang all the way down to here or fall off entirely. Now that I've done that, I'm going to do this fun little cheat. I'm going to grab a scrap of yarn. So I find a scrap of yarn. Here we go. Here's a little scrap of yarn that was sitting on the other side of my table. And I'm just going to kind of set it right here and then make a few more chains. And what I'm making now is actually the button loop. Okay, so I'm just going to make a few more chains until it looks like the loop, if I were to fold it over, would be the right size for my button. Now that means you actually have to have a button in mind, or else have plenty of buttons, so that if it was the wrong size you could find a button that fits. It's always good to have a button in mind so you know what size you're making this. Once you've made it so that when you fold it over to where that yarn scrap is, that loop is the right size for your button. See, that's a good size for a button like this. Then what you're going to do is go through, you see how there's my, let me move that out of the way. Okay, you see how that's where the yarn went through? I'm going to catch one loop in front of that and that loop right there with my hook, and then just make a chain going through all of that. This is actually called a slip stitch, but it's basically just a chain where you caught some more fabric. You caught some more yarn. So you see what I've done? I've joined those pieces together, and now I can pull this little stitch out, this little scrap of yarn out. And that way I have my loop. And now you're just going to chain until this tail is as long as the first tail. Okay, so here we have my bracelet so far. I've laid it out so that everything is nice and even as far as this chain goes, and you can see that I'm a few stitches short of being long enough. So I'm just going to crochet a few more. And just like before, if I had been too long, I would have just pulled a few stitches out. Let's see. I think I just need one more. Whoops. Not the end of the world. Just straighten it all out again and take another look, and hey, that looks pretty much perfect. Okay, let me try to get it all laid flat here. And sometimes you might want to take your hook out, because sometimes your hook kind of makes the one lay different than the other. But the great thing about this is it's not an exact science. If one of these sizes is a ½ inch longer than the other, it's fine. Anything more than a ½ inch might be a problem. But as long as they're within ½ an inch of each other, you're fine. Okay, so you can see that this stitch here and these two stitches kind of line up with each other, and then I have one extra loop. And that's great. What I'm going to do is clip my yarn, grab that tail, pull it through that last loop, hold on. Okay, here's the last loop that I pulled everything through. Here's the loop before it. I'm going to pinch that really tightly, and then I'm going to pull this tight. Okay, and there we have my bracelet so far. Okay, and you can see that's what we have so far, but you see that this has two different colors. Well, I'm going to show you how to do the second color. It's very simple. You already know everything you need to know to do it. I'm going to grab my second color. I'm going to start a chain, and I like to leave, you may have noticed, I like to make sure that I've left plenty of tail, like at least 6 inches. Yarn is not so expensive. Even the super duper expensive yarn is not so expensive that it's worth not leaving a long enough tail and driving yourselves crazy at the end. In this case, I could probably use a shorter tail, but it is a habit for me to leave a long tail, and I like that habit, so I'm sticking with it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is make a chain that is the length from here to here. Okay, so you can see I've lined up my hook right where the that loop, the button loop starts, and I'm not quite long enough, so I have to go a little bit longer. And there's one thing I did want to tell you that I didn't say at the beginning that I probably should have, which is my hook here is a size 8 or H, which is a 6 millimeter, which is probably a little bit bigger than you would normally use for this yarn. And that's what I like to do with these, just a tiny bit bigger. That's how I like the chain to look. But what's important for you is you want to start making your chain with your yarn, and you want to look at it. And if it looks really big and loopy and you don't like that look, then use a smaller hook. If you look at it and it looks really tight and it becomes really stiff because it's real tight and it doesn't move as much as you'd like it to move, then you need to use a bigger hook because your tension's too tight. This is something where I'm not giving you a gauge or a tension. You want to make it you want to find the right combination of yarn and hook that is aesthetically pleasing to you, that makes you happy, because something like jewelry, you know, and something like this where it's not a, it's kind of fit it as you go, you don't need to worry about tension and gauge. Just find the combination that makes you happy and go with it. Okay, so again, I'm going to line these up, and it looks like I need maybe about 6 more chains. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see what happens. Line it up with the button loop, line it up over here. Okay, I'm going to go with 2 more, and that will be enough. Okay, now pick up your piece you've already made, and you see your button loop, right? Here's the loop. Here are the 2 tails. It kind of makes one of those, you know, awareness ribbons if you look at it here. And what you're going to do is you're going to do that slip stitch again. You're going to go underneath where the buttonhole is joined and then up through the buttonhole. Okay, let me show you that again. Go underneath the buttonhole join in between the 2 little legs and then back up through the loop of the buttonhole. And then you're just going to make your chain. And keep on going. So, again, and through. Okay, let me show you one more time. Underneath the buttonhole, in between those two little legs, up through the buttonhole, and make your chain. And then keep on making chains until this second leg is as long as the first leg. Look at that. It looks like I got a little happy. It actually looks like this first one might have been a little longer than I would like. And there is a way to fix that. If you want to get really crazy, you can actually undo a chain from the back end really, really carefully. Like I said, if you want to get crazy, you can undo a chain from the back end really, really carefully. And just, you know, pull out a couple little loops. And there, now it's fine. Okay, and then here, I want to pull out a couple loops on the one that I just made, because it's a little bit long. I think once I pull that tight, it will be fine, so I'm going to clip this and pull my yarn through, the tail through, give it a tug, and now I have these 4 pieces that are basically the same length, okay? Now what you're going to do is sew your button onto here really tightly, going through all of these, and then you'll be able to clip your end. One of the things I like to do when I sew on my button is I actually go through all of this, and then I kind of fold this over and catch all those ends and then clip them off. So let me show you that. Okay, once you find the button that you like, which you should have done before you made your bracelet so you can be sure that it fits through the loop properly. So you have your button that you like, and you have your thread that you want to use to sew it together. And I sometimes I match the button, and sometimes I like to go with kind of an opposite color for the button just to give a little accenty bit. You do, again, it's all about what makes you happy. So what I'm going to do to start off with is I'm actually going to run my needle through all of the kind of knots at the beginning of these slip stitches. And you see I have my thread folded in half, and there's a knot at the end, and what I actually do here is I pull it through, and I actually, just before the knot, put my needle in between the 2 threads. Okay, you see that? I'm in between these 2 threads. Let me try to, there we go. You see how I can open up the 2 threads and put the needle in between that? I do that. It makes sure that the knot will not pull through at that point, okay? Kind of secures everything. Now I'm actually going to fold over all of these tails and wrap my thread around it and kind of sew back through again. I'm going to do that again, wrap my thread around, sew through. Wrap my thread all the way around, without catching things. Let me show you that again. Wrap that thread all the way around and sew through. It actually ends up going around a couple times when you do it like that. About 1.5 actually. Okay? And now what this has done is it's really secured those little tails. Then what I do is I clip it close to that. And then I'm just going to come up and down and sew on my button. Kind of going through. Okay, I came up I'll show you again. Go through that thread. Go back up through all of those thread wraps. Oopsie. There we go. Through all the thread wraps and up through the button. Then back down through the button and through all the thread wraps again. This way you're sure that you're catching onto something secure. Go back down through all those wrapped threads and into the button, and then back down through the button and through all the wrapped threads kind of on the other side of it. Okay, you may need a thimble if you don't have calloused fingers. I'm going to go one more time. I wasn't really counting. I like to do like 4 times through the button, but I was not counting. Okay, and then once you've done that, you want to tie your little knot. Once you've tied the knot, I like to kind of bury my needle through everything once and then clip it so that I'm not clipping right up against the knot. Now you take your bracelet, you wrap it once, twice, or better yet, you get a friend to do that for you. And ta-da! Here we have this fun and cute little bracelet that we have just made. And all you need to know how to do is a chain stitch and sew on a button.